Hello and welcome to the Julia the Knitter podcast. This is episode 4. This is a podcast mainly about knitting and basically me being my crafty self. So sometimes there will be crochet, sometimes I'll be talking about what I'm sewing, but mostly knitting and whatever happens to tickle my fancy that week. But my name is Julia. I am coming to you from Queens, New York, where I live with my handsome husband, my 2 crazy kids, and my wild beast of a dog, who you all got to see her in action last episode. Sorry, I am just glued to this sock pattern at the moment. But let's dive in and talk about a few things today. Let's talk about our knitting. So, I know a lot of podcasters talk about, knits that they're wearing and stuff like that. So maybe I'll jump on that bandwagon too. So today I am wearing this shawl was a mystery knit along that Isolde Teague did a few years ago. I knit this up in January 2014, and it is the Follow Your Arrow mystery knit along, the first one that she did. I know there was another one. I don't know if there have been more since then. I'm not sure. But I knit this up in Gynx yarns. I did a really bad job about my note taking on this, and I don't know the name of the colorway or the base exactly. I know that it is a BFL base, and the colorway is something like Lola or Lolita, something along those lines, but this is lovely purple. It's a little tonal. And what was really cool about this mystery knit along is that it was like those choose your own adventure books we all read when we were kids. If you want to go to page such and such, or skip this chapter and go here. And this pattern was kind of like that. So you had options with each mystery clue each week, which was really cool. So I have this really nice shawl. It's kind of I don't want to say semicircular because it's got angles on the bottom, but it's really cool. It's warm. This yarn, I have to say, blocked out so nicely, and it holds its shape so well, and I really like BFL. It's got a sturdiness to it, and it's just warm. I mean, merino is great because it's so nice and it feels so luscious against your skin, but BFL is where it's at, man. All right, so that's what I'm wearing today. And this New York weather has been calling for all kinds of knit socks, and my husband even put knit socks on this morning, which I was shocked because he only wears them when it's really, really cold out. And it's not really that cold out today. I think he just wanted some knit sock love. Just saying. So, that's what I'm wearing today. I do have one finished object, kind of, to show you guys this week. Can you tell that I have my show notes again? I'm so sorry that I forgot to write up not that I forgot to write my show notes up last week, but it was a time crunch. If I either had time to record an episode or write my show notes, so I just figured, you know what, I'll wing it. And I noticed that I really got off track quite a bit, and it was hard for me to kind of stay focused. So not that was a bad thing, but I could have been a little bit more streamlined, I think. So I've got my show notes back. I wrote them up this morning while I was drinking a cup of tea, and hopefully this week, this episode will be a little bit more, less all over the place. So, finished objects. I was working on these Norwegian mittens for Mimi. The pattern is by Mazzarella. And when I say they're kind of finished, the knitting is done. One mitten has all the ends woven in. The thumbs are on and attached, and it's beautiful. I really like the way these came out. I wish they fit me. I think they'll look really nice on my daughter, and they're a little big, which I think it's good because my kids just grow like crazy. So hopefully these will last a few winters, and they're going to be real warm. They're knit up in a DK weight. I use Debbie Bliss Rialto DK. So you've got in the 2 layers of that DK, so it'll be warm. I did finish the second glove, and I put the thumbs, as you can see, on both mittens. I did not weave in the ends yet on this mitten. My daughter is actually homesick a few days this week, so I can't really work on these in front of her because they're for her for Christmas. So, you know, I should be able to get those done anytime. Soon. Very soon. And then they just need a good soak and a block, and I think that'll even out the stitches a little bit. As you can see, you know, they're not perfect by any means. When it comes to color work, I've done a few things before, but I'm basically a noob when it comes to it. But I think these came out really well, and I really like them, and I'm on a little bit of a color work kick at the moment. I just love it. It's kind of addicting in a way. I just really like the way the colors work together, as you'll see with my next project. So again, these are the Norwegian mittens for Mimi, and I knit them up for my daughter for Christmas. And they're just in this gray and turquoise color, and it's light. And I know I've said it before, but I think I probably could have gone with yarn that had a little bit more of a contrast between it, but I think it's showing up pretty well on camera. I think it's actually showing up better on camera than it does in person. But you got this nice little leafy, florally pattern, and it's all crisscross on the back. But I really like them. But maybe I'll show you them again when they're blocked, so maybe they'll be a little bit more evened out next time. But that's my finished object for the week. They're finished. There. And I know last episode I did mention the sweater that I was casting on for my son for Christmas. I believe I showed you the start of the cuffs for the sleeves. Since then, I have finished the sleeves. They're not attached to the body, but I'm not going to pull them out. They're just plain navy blue sleeves. There's not really anything exciting about them. They're on hold at the moment while I knit up the body and attach it. So this is the body, and this is the Campfire sweater by Tin Can Knits, and I am knitting this up in Rowan Pure Wool Superwash DK. For somebody who never uses DK weight yarn, I've been using it a whole lot lately, and it's been nice. This yarn feels really nice. It's woolly. It feels woolly. I like Rowan yarn. But the whole body, the main color, is this nice navy blue color, and then I'm doing the color work section, which kind of goes, it's like a strip across the chest, the middle, I don't know what you want to call it. And I'm using this lighter blue and this light green. Let me see if the colors have names on them. I don't think they do. No. Well, the light green is shade 00104. And the light blue that I'm using is shade 00108. And they're just, it's like a light denim. I feel like it's actually showing up a little brighter on camera than it is in person. And I'm doing this dark navy blue with them. And I really like the way the colors are working together. They're coming along pretty nicely. So I have most of the body done so far. I am about halfway through this colorwork band. And then it goes back to the navy blue, and I'll attach the sleeves, and it's going to have a nice shawl collar to it. And that's that. I have my really cute Dragonfly and Amber Progress Keeper from Little Bitty Delights on there. And that's just where I like to leave a Progress Keeper on there. I usually do it once a week, especially when I'm doing Miles of Stockinette, just to kind of give myself a little, oh, that's how much I've done today. Okay, that's how much I've gotten done. Because sometimes when you're doing stockinette, it feels like you're not getting anywhere. And this body of the sweater was totally like that. I think I was knitting on it all day, and I just wasn't really getting anywhere. I was using the measuring tape, and I was like, what? A 1/4 inch? I still have 5 inches to go. It was one of those. But I just wanted to work on the color work. Can you blame me? I can't help it. But I really think it's coming along nicely. Some people, I know, I like to do it, but this is the inside, the floats, the guts of the sweater. I think it's just so pretty to look at them. I think my tension is a lot better on my color work here than they were on the sweaters, and that could just be a different gauge. I think that's probably all it is. Using my Lantern Moon needles. I can't remember exactly what size it is, and I didn't write it down. Actually, I probably have it in the pattern right here. I think it's a size 6 that I'm using. But these are my Lantern Moon Rosewood needles. I like wood needles. It doesn't seem like a lot of podcasters really use wood needles, and I don't know why that is. Yes, it's a US size 6 4mm needle, and the ribbing is done in US 3.25mm needle. I like the way wood needles feel in my hands. They just feel nice. They kind of warm up to your touch, and I don't know, it just feels so natural to me. I find that I know chow glue needles and haya needles. One of them, I tried one of them and I didn't try the other. I don't remember which. I want to say it was the chow glue needles that I tried, and they were like stainless steel. I did not. I know people love them, but they didn't feel good in my hands. I didn't like the way it felt. Different strokes for different folks, right? So that's that. I'm a wood needle kind of girl most of the time. I usually knit my socks on Addie's, you know, the sock rockets. And they work well for me. I don't have a problem with metal needles. And sometimes I guess it depends on what I'm working with, because, you know, the wood needles, they don't always have as nice a point as some of the metal needles, or is it chow glue needles that have, oh, carbons. Carbons, I like the point on carbons. They're real good for lace. It's pointy, and I have a good pair of signature needles, and I love the point on them. I love a good sharp point. Sometimes it's hard to get that with wood needles. So that's that. This morning I cast on another project. I have not had a sock on the needles in about 2 weeks since I finished the socks for my husband. I like to have a sock on the needles. It's cozy knitting, you know, it just feels good. And I didn't have one, and it was kind of making me a little crazy, because I have this block of time that I can knit normally in the car when I'm picking up my daughter in the evening, but it's dark out now this time of year. So I couldn't work on her mittens while I was in the car, because that chart, well, one, it's dark, you can't, I'm a color work noob. So one, working with the charts and stuff like that, I don't have a problem with charts, but when you're doing it in the dark and you can't really see what you're doing, it just wasn't working. And my son's sweater was doing all right while I was doing the plain stockinette body, but now that I'm on the color work section, I can't really do that in the dark either. So I really needed a sock. And my daughter, I swear my daughter grew like 3 shoe sizes in less than a year. And she just keeps outgrowing all of her socks that I've already knit her. And so she was asking me, she's got one pair that I knit her, I finished it during the fall. I want to say September or October. So they fit her. But she had asked me to knit her some more socks. So I cast on a pair of socks this morning for her, and hopefully they'll be done for Christmas. If they're not, I'm not going to make myself crazy over it, because she's already got the mittens coming for Christmas. I'm knitting my son's sweater for Christmas. I want to knit a few hats for some people. And, you know, I'd like to knit a pair of socks for her and my son for Christmas. If they're not done for Christmas, it's not the end of the world. They've got other knit stuff. My family just likes knit goods. I can't help it. But anyway, enough babbling. So what sock am I knitting? These are the Mistletoe socks released by Mina Phillip of the Knitting Expat podcast. And these were released. She has orders open. I don't know. You can pre-order her 2 2018 sock collections that are coming out. Sock clubs. One is the Cozy Sock Club, and the other I think is like Winter Wonderland Sock Club, something like that. But along with both those sock clubs, you get the pattern for these mistletoe socks. And what I like about her patterns is that they're really just a notch above vanilla socks, a plain stockinette sock. If you can do that, you can do her socks. And it doesn't really take that much more brain power, but it's just enough to keep things interesting. So I am knitting these mistletoe socks up out of some deep, deep stash. I did a serious stash dive for this yarn because I like to knit up what I have when I can. And this is Trekking XXL, which I probably bought when I first started knitting socks. And I think my daughter probably picked it out, and I knit the first pair of socks I knit for her, I knit out of this yarn. And they are much, much, much too small for her now. Because that was, I think she was maybe 2 or 3 at that time. But this is the color number 401. I know, so creative, I know. But it is silk striping, and it's got like lime greens and a darker lime green and a cream color and this blue turquoisey color. And I'm only doing the pattern on the front of the leg, and I'm leaving the back plain stockinette just for simplicity's sake. So you can kind of see the striping pattern here. Colors are a little bright, so it's getting a little blown out. It's kind of hard to see the difference between the greens and the cream. But the front is, it's got this little slip stitch going there. I haven't decided whether I'm actually going to put a heel into the sock or not. I'm toying with the idea of leaving it heelless, like a tube sock, just because her feet just keep growing. And you know, I knit her a pair of socks, and I knit them big. Don't get me wrong. I usually knit them at least a size or 2 bigger than her regular shoe size, so that she can grow into them. But usually by the time I get them on her feet, they're a little snug. So I don't know. I may or may not put a heel in them. I probably will put a heel in them because I can't imagine just doing a long tube and then doing another one. See, I was actually even thinking about following Grace from the Babbles Traveling Knits? Babbles Traveling Yarns podcast. She's doing an afterthought everything sock, and you basically go from tube to tube, or I guess you could go from toe to toe also, and then you split it up and put everything in afterthought wise. I know that would drive me crazy. I don't think I have the patience to do that. I'm 95% of the time I'm a 2 at a time magic loop sock person, because if I don't knit the magic loop, I may not necessarily want to do the second sock, and I just feel like it gets done much quicker. But in the last few months, I've been doing a lot more 1 at a time socks, which is very unlike me. A lot of it had to do, though, I had received a few skeins of yarn that were already balled up, some self-striping yarns balled up, and so I couldn't knit from both ends, which is what I would normally do. But I'm knitting this pair of socks 1 at a time, and I'm not doing the magic loop. I know, I'm just full of contradictions today. I am knitting them on these wooden DPNs. They are just basic clover DPNs, a size 1, 2.25 millimeter needle. Sometimes, every now and again, I just have the hankering to knit with a DPN, knit a DPN sock. I am knitting these socks up on the 56 stitch base, 56 stitch size rather, and that is the second small size. And I figured, now, 1, I normally knit my socks on 0.5, a US 1.5, which is like a 2.5 millimeter size needle. And so this needle's a little bit smaller, and my daughter, I usually do 52 stitches around, 54, now I don't remember. But I'm using, you know, like I said, a slightly smaller needle, and so I'm doing 56 stitches around, and I think that'll be fine. This way, she doesn't like them that tight, which she's like that with a lot of things. She doesn't like things very snug. But I think maybe this will, you know, if I knit them big, maybe, just maybe, they'll last a little while. But the beauty I've discovered recently of knitting all these socks that I've knit for my daughter over the years is that now my son, who is 2, is starting to fit into some of the socks that I've knit for her. So I really enjoy seeing them get this second life and more use out of them. My neighbor's kid is making a lot of noise. I hope you don't hear that. That's not my son crying. But the neighbor downstairs, her baby cries a lot. So I'm trying not to say it too loudly, just in case she hears me talking about her. So that is that sock. Also, we've got some construction going on right behind our apartment. The building right next to us, this week, they just decided, I don't know what the reasoning for it is, but next to us they have a bunch of duplexes and that have a back door with little steps going down. But they decided to jackhammer all those steps down, and they're redoing them. So most of the jackhammering is done, but it's been so noisy all week, and they've got trucks going back and forth, you know, removing the debris, and they're pouring cement, and they're setting up new steps. So I apologize for any of the background noise that you hear today. It's a little noisy this week here, but you know, that's just the way it goes. So that is what I'm knitting on. I don't have any sewing to talk about this week. As you can see, I am deep in the throes of Christmas knitting, and sorry about that. My son woke up from his nap, so I had to go check in on him. He went back to sleep, but so here I am. So as I mentioned, I am deep into Christmas knitting at the moment, and I am really enjoying the projects that I'm working on at the moment. I do just want to cast on everything for me alone, which I knit a lot for other people, and just lately in the last few months I've really been enjoying selfish knitting and knitting just for me. I have all these plans for things that I want to knit, but they've got to wait till after Christmas. So come January, or maybe even, you know, Christmas Day, we'll see if I have time Christmas Day or Christmas Eve to cast on something for myself. I know that Danny from the Little Bobbins podcast does her Christmas Eve cast on, and I really like the idea of that. We'll see where I'm at, because there are some years that I am still finishing things up on Christmas Eve so I can get them into boxes and stockings, etc. for Christmas. But that's that. I do have a few other things I had planned to make for Christmas, so we'll see where that goes. And I know with my dad's family we do a Secret Santa. I don't know who my names are, who I have for Secret Santa. Oh, it's one name now. It used to be, the way they do it is, growing up, you know, each adult would pick a kid's name and an adult name, and you'd buy for that family. Because we have such a big family, it just got to the point where it's just ridiculous to be buying Christmas presents for all those people. And now that all of us kids are now adults, we participate in the Secret Santa also. So instead of doing 2 names, everybody picks 1 name. So my husband and I don't know who we have yet this year. So I usually try to make something for whoever I've drawn. It depends on who it is. If I know that they're going to appreciate it, you know, I'll make them something. And I know that one of my cousins is really interested in having her own pair of knit socks, and I told her, well, if I draw you in the Secret Santa, I'll knit you a pair. So So that's where that goes. I have my Christmas knitting plans, you know, more or less worked out. There's some wiggle room. I don't know exactly, you know, I know I want to do a few hats. I don't have an exact pattern picked out yet or yarn to go with it. I do try to stash dive as much as I can. I do have a pretty substantial yarn stash. A lot of it is fingering weight yarn because I love fingering weight yarn, and to me it's so versatile. And I knit a lot of socks for everybody, so it works. So that's pretty much my Christmas knitting plans. I do have a sewing project that I want to work on, and I really need to start getting my plans for it more concrete and get moving with it if I want to have it done for Christmas. I can't talk about that on the podcast. I think I've mentioned that before. I can, once it's done, and I think I'll probably record a podcast right before Christmas with all the Christmas gifts that I've knit. I just want to, I won't release it until after Christmas so that everybody's had their things, so this way I'm not showing it off and they've seen what's on there. Because I know the person that this sewing project is intended for watches this. So that's that. In terms of reading, I did finish the Agnes Browne trilogy that I was reading by Brandon O'Connell, and guys, that series was just so satisfying, and it was such a quick read. It's 3 books. I think each of them were under 200 pages, maybe about 200. I don't remember. I don't pay that close attention to that, but they were so good. And to be honest, I laughed, I cried, I sobbed my way through the end of the last one, and it was just so good, and it felt good. And while reading it, I mean, it's about a woman. The series starts like 1960s in Dublin, and by the end of the series, is it the 90s yet, or is it the 80s? I don't know, but it spans a good amount of time, and you see the woman's children growing up and all the changes in life that happen along that, and they're just an Irish family, and to me, it just feels so familiar because, you know, that's what a lot of my family is like. Some of it, I mean, a lot of it is much more dramatic than we have in my own family. But, you know, every family has their own struggles and their own quirks, and it's so nice. It felt like home. It felt like a conversation that I had with my own mother, a lot of the story. So it was very good, and I would recommend it to anybody to read. It's a quick read. It's good. It feels good. So I was glad to read that. I was sorry to see it end, but at the same time, it was just right. I don't feel like I missed out. If it had been any longer, maybe it wouldn't have been as satisfying. I don't know. But I don't like to be without a book. So the next book I'm currently reading, is A is for Alibi by Sue Grafton, and it is a mystery, and this is a series of mysteries. I believe there is one for every letter. My mom has been reading these books forever. I can remember as a kid seeing her reading these. So I know all 26 of them have been released, and this is the first one that I've read. And so far, it is pretty darn good. I don't want to give too much information about the book because this way, you know, if you do want to read it, I'm not going to tell you the whole story. But it is... The basic summary of this book is that this woman, Kinsey, is a private investigator, and she has been hired by a woman who just got out of jail for the murder of her husband, to investigate who really killed her husband. And I'll leave it at that. It's pretty good so far. I have some ideas as to who actually did it, and I'm hoping it's not as easy of a guess as I'm being led to believe it might. I hope there's like some real big twist, because it might be too easy, and I don't like them too easy. But we'll see. I like a good mystery. I love a good book. And that's what I'm reading right now. If you guys are reading anything or you'd like to hear more about what we're reading, let's talk about it. But that is pretty much all I have to talk to you guys about this week. I hope everybody had a really nice Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was last Thursday. Ours was pretty nice. It was a little different than our normal Thanksgiving. Like I said, we have a really big family. My dad is one of 6, and we normally celebrate with his side of the family. And it's like 20 people, 24 people, plus or minus a few every year. And it's usually at my parents' house. But my parents moved this year, and they're upstate, and the way the schedule was with my daughter, I would not have been able to travel with her to make it to dinner. So my parents came down here, and we had Thanksgiving at a restaurant at the Norwegian, and it was very nice. The food was good. The service was great. I couldn't believe how packed it was. I mean, to me, you never think about, going out to dinner on Thanksgiving, but I guess that's what some people do. It was a long dinner though, and so my son was growing less patient as the night wore on. But overall it was pretty good. I think next year, we're trying to find our new Thanksgiving routine. My brother-in-law and his wife are expecting a baby any day now, so we could have celebrated with them maybe, but they didn't know whether they were going to be having a baby at the moment or not, so they didn't want anybody over, and I could totally understand that. So that was Thanksgiving. It was pretty good. My dog ran her first 5K on Thanksgiving. We have a lot of runners in our family, and some walkers too. And what we would always do is we'd all get together on Thanksgiving morning and run a 5K run around the neighborhood. And it was, an unofficial race. There was nothing official. There's turkey trots all over the place, and you can go run a race all over. But we have our own Fallon family turkey trot that we had every year, and we have friends that come and relatives that come, and it was always in my parents' neighborhood, and either my mom or I would go and chalk up all the turns around the neighborhood so nobody would get lost, although some years some people did get lost and make wrong turns. But so we were all really missing the Fallon family turkey trot this year, and I like to have a good run before I'm going to eat all that food. So I went for a run that morning. I did a 3-mile run, and I took my dog with me, which I had never done before. I normally run with my son in his stroller, but my dog does not like to run next to the stroller. We went and tried it one time, and she was not having any of it, so she doesn't get to run. She likes long walks, and we had been wondering for a while whether she would be good with running, and because she just has so much energy. So I took her, and I did a little half-mile right here in our little courtyard, and just to kind of see, could this work, could this not? I don't want to be so far away from the house and realize she's just not going to do it. So she did pretty well. So then I stayed fairly close, but I did a 3-mile run around the neighborhood, and she loved it. And so we came back to the house, and I swear that dog was ready to run some more. So I think I'll have to include her on some runs from now on. And it's probably good for, my son's not going to sit in a running stroller forever, and he's a big boy. He's not quite, but just about 30 pounds, and pushing him plus the stroller, it's heavy. You get a good workout when you're running with that stroller. But that's not going to last forever, and the dog will be around for quite some time. So it'll be good to have another running partner. And so I'm looking forward to that. Trying to think what else has been going on around here. that's about it. December starts tomorrow, and so we have our advent calendars that will be starting up. We just the little chocolate ones that we all grew up with, and my kids are definitely looking forward to that. And that's about it. That's what's going on around here. So I hope you guys all have a great week and are making way with any of your gift knitting for this season, if in fact you are doing that. I know some people don't, and that's cool too. But whatever you're doing, I hope you're loving it and doing it well. So on that note, have a great weekend and keep knitting, keep crafting, and doing your thing. Have a good one. Bye.